There you go. Where's this for you? Oh, because. Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll get started. Call this meeting of the Lake Country Classical Academy to order at 6:01 on July 16th. In accordance with Wisconsin Open Meetings Law, the required public notice of this meeting ran in the July 12th issue of the Waukesha Freeman, was posted on the LCCA website and the front entry doors of both school campuses. The LCCA mission is to train the minds and improve the hearts of young people through a content-rich classical education in the liberal arts and sciences with principles, with instruction in the principles of moral character and civic virtue. So please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please let the roll show that all board members are in attendance. Is there any objection to the minutes from the June, what was our date, 19th, 18th? Our last board meeting in June. Okay, so since there's no objection, the agenda is approved. I just wanted to give a brief response to our public comment, which was from Erica last month. Erica, one thing you mentioned was more of a suggestion, I think, about the surveys and making the exit surveys confidential. So I appreciate the suggestion. There's, obviously when you're doing surveys, a lot of factors that go into deciding how to do it, how to present it, how to structure it. So we'll certainly take your comment under advisement and consider that for next year's surveys. And then you had also asked a question on the lease expense, and then John is actually going to address that in his one campus update portion. So. All right, did we have any public comments today? All right, Erica.
All right, to start, I had no intentions of coming tonight, clearly. But last night I checked the agenda and noticed that the exit survey results were on the principal's report. My oldest son will not be coming back in fall after being at LCCA for 4 years, so I had to fill out a survey. It took me a month to finally type out what I needed to be said on why we withdrew our son, considering when we started we had full plans to see all 4 of our children graduate from LCCA. I was shocked to see the exit survey results minimized down to a bar graph. I am not the only person who spent time filling out the survey with my heart only to see it dismissed. Our issue and why we pulled our son was not a result on the bar graph. You, the LCCA board, are being lied to with sugar-coated answers from admin, and I'm furious. My family has been with LCCA since before it opened, and I will continue to bring up issues to the school so that we can grow and be successful together. Hiding comments from families is an ugly look, but it's almost as ugly as a principal meeting with me regarding my son being bullied and targeted by a staff member, that I'm the only one having these issues with this teacher. I can tell you firsthand that that is a lie, and so are the results of this exit survey presented to you tonight. So I made copies of, in case it got lost, this is my exit survey. I want you guys to read it and take it to heart. This was a month of only 2 paragraphs, and this is why we left. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your open
I'm
and honest
really
feedback. No, we appreciate your honesty. So thank you, and we'll pass that out and take a look. All right. Okay, our president's report, a few things, but first I did tell Tom, as former president, he just wanted to make a couple comments on meeting efficiency, so he said he could do it in 20 seconds, so I'm going to give the first 20 seconds to
Turn it on. Turn your phone on. So I said this with the last composition of the board. I want to challenge the board in our meetings to be as efficient as possible with time. We need to say what we need to say. We need to cover all board business. but let's try to keep these meetings as taut and concise time-wise as possible. My challenge is 45 minutes to an hour and no more than a half an hour in closed session. It's not always going to happen, but I just want to put it out there. I did this with the last composition of the board after we had multiple meetings that were going 3 to 4 hours. So that's my 20 seconds.
Okay. All right, thanks, Tom. So a few things just wanted to hit on here. I want to remind everybody there's no board meeting in August, so that is our scheduled off, or one of our scheduled off months. And just remind everybody there's a closed session at the end of this meeting. A couple things changed or added that I will be continuing items here. So one, the strategic plan that we put together last month. Have that as a line item on the agenda to talk about our strategic plan, hit on the items, kind of do a progress check each month. So I will keep putting that on the agenda and keep updating that. And then the second thing I wanted to implement based on our last meeting and our strategic planning was a to-do list. So our to-do list would be things that we need to get done or commit to being done for our next meeting, so we don't forget things don't slip through the cracks, we don't get to the next month and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, and then it's another month or 2 months before it happens. So I'll create a to-do list, since we didn't, just starting that, I'll create this, and then we'll just have somebody be accountable for it, and then next month we'll revisit that and hopefully check off most, if not all, of the items on the to-do list. So part of the reason I thought that was a good idea is one of the things now that we've had new board members come on, this year, we had half our board is new, and I went through training, got acclimated, familiar with how we do things, and then I think the key was our strategic plan now, where we spent a good, 12, maybe even more than that, hours on our strategic planning. So I want that to be our launching pad into now getting things done. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I know there's some procedural things we have to continue to do, but to really start getting things done. We laid out our plan, let's execute and move forward with that and get as much done as we can as quickly as possible. So by going over the plan and having that to-do list, I thought those would help us to go in that direction and make sure we're not talking about something a year from now that could have been done before, or at least made progress towards it if it's a longer term goal. So I'll keep that list, and then I'll have that on the agenda each month going forward, so we know what that is and can look at it and make sure we have whatever we committed to completed. So I think that was everything I had on my president's report. Pretty good, Tom? All right. So next we have the head principal's report. So Margaret.
Thank you. Echoing Tom's sentiment and being very appreciative of the information and the insight and the guidance that we learned from Partners Learn through the strategic planning session, I also want to have a goal of efficiency at these meetings. And so since you all received my report the Friday before tonight, I thought I would just progress through to a few highlights rather than read through everything again this evening. I was originally going to advance directly to the last slide, but I do think I need to address the comment made just now this evening that insinuated that I am not being truthful or honest in any way, and that I am lying to the board. And I am not. The information that you see here was gleaned from the exit surveys, which ask what is the main reason for your departure from LCCA. The secondary question asks, is there any other information you would like us to know? The exit surveys, before compiling this information into a succinct, reportable representation of data, were all read and understood by multiple members of the staff. We did glean the comments down to the number one reason communicated for departure, and that is the information displayed here. At the time of looking at the surveys, I did not have an entry from Mrs. Urban. So I'm not sure if you didn't submit or if there was snafu there, but I do not appreciate the slanderous comment disparaging my integrity and my character. I am not lying. I am completely transparent. And the information you see here is straight from the comments to the exit survey as of the date provided.
Understood.
Thank you. Looking at the financials, you had an opportunity to look through the income statement, the budget versus actual report, and the bank reconciliation report. And the revenue received in June included grant donation revenue, earnings on investments with Edward Jones and Waukesha State Bank, categorical aid, Medicaid reimbursement, and per pupil revenue. To date, I think it's worth noting that earnings on investments is slightly over $102,000. So our money, investment money, is working for us in positive ways. Expenditures on the income statement included monthly payment to facility vendors, third-party employment agencies, IT purchases to be reimbursed with our final claims on the waiver grant. Some non-capital expenditures, furniture, fixture purchases, also being submitted for reimbursements against the final grant allotment. Textbooks also to be reimbursed through the grant, and the dues and fees were paid to the authorizer for the 1% fee of the per pupil revenue that we received in June. It is worth noting that about $180,000 of spending is pending reimbursement from the closure of the grant. So that's important to note there. In the bank reconciliation report, the total cash on hand is a little over $3.7 million, which equates to about 179 days cash on hand, and our $500,000 line of credit remains undrawn. In the budget versus actual report, you'll note that we came in at 93% of the budgeted salaries and benefits budget. We did close out the fiscal year under budget, and that was due to the vacant positions of a full-time director of advancement, a facilities assistant, and then we paid less than we had budgeted for in substitute teacher compensation. So that accounts for that coming in slightly under anticipated budget there. A couple other line items that you may have noted on the budget versus actual report were janitorial services at both campuses are on pace for our fiscal year end. Our utilities invoices in line item 330 is because we pay utilities separately from our lease payment or our rent payment at the West campus. Textbooks expenses, line 470, were a little higher due to the replacement of some textbooks that have worn in the first 4 years of school, and some new curriculum purchases, which again will go toward that charter waiver reimbursement grant. Beyond that general overview of the finances and your review of my report in advance, are there any questions?
Well, it's nice that we came a little over on revenue and a little under on expenses, so that's always a good year-end result. One question I had is, I know we didn't have enrollment in this month. Curious where that stands. I know last time we were like low 600s, so curious where that number stands now.
Little to no fluctuation since last month's report.
Okay, so we're pretty static from where we were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good news. And then on the GPA, I know, and you even explained it on your report, you and I have had this conversation before about GPA can be very misleading, but I was just curious how those numbers stood up, understanding that you can't read too much into it, how those have stood up compared to prior years. Has there been improvement? Have they been kind of in the same ballpark?
I quite frankly haven't done a prior year assessment. We don't look at GPAs in that way, so I can look back at last year's report at this month to get a sense of that for you.
That's okay if we I know it's part of a bigger picture, and we've talked about the reasons why that may not be the best. So I don't think you have to do any additional work. I'd rather have you spend your time doing other things. And then the other thing, you had the marketing report, which I'm guessing maybe that was from Kendra that you inserted, so you might not know the answer to that, but I know our click-throughs, or whatever the terminology Tom would know, was fairly positive, high. And I know clicks can, just like grade point, can be interpreted a lot of different ways. I was just wondering if we have a way to translate into like actual action, like people calling up for information on the school, touring. Is there a way to know like the value of those clicks, or is that a Kendra question?
I can get, that is a Kendra question. I can get an answer for you and get it sent to you.
Okay. And again, that was more just a curiosity question, how effective that approach is. I did, I had one other question for you I was going to ask, and I don't remember. Just back on the enrollment, I had sent a spreadsheet, like a sample of, and the thing we had talked about was now that we have a little history, it can at least track some trends. And I sent a spreadsheet just as an idea of kind of here's what I had in mind. Have you or Lori had a chance to do anything with that yet?
The registrar oversees enrollment, and I have looked at that, and we considered how we might incorporate that into our October presentation of the enrollment data.
Okay, so October would be when you think you can come up with some version of that?
Have a system, but we're comparing what is it that you're looking for compared to what is it that we already present, and do we need to tweak anything to include.
Okay, and then just so you know, I mean, if there has to be some tweaks to it or something, because it's not practical the way I presented it, was just sort of, here's what I was thinking.
We're looking at it through that lens.
So don't feel like if it's impractical, you have to be exactly that way, so.
Great.
Good, and I'll put that on our to-do list then for October for the enrollment, the new format on the enrollment.
Well, the October is when we present all the enrollment data for the board calendar. So we'll make sure that our presentation of that data includes the information that your proposed spreadsheets request.
No, I understand.
Okay,
I just want to make sure it's not lost, so we're going to try and do that. Okay, great, thank you for that update. Other questions for Margaret?
Can you just ask one on the follow-up? On the marketing stuff, this isn't being critical, it's literally just wondering, like, what are we aiming for with all these marketing efforts? And I asked it with the context, I remember there was a previous report a few months ago, like that on the survey done or something. I think it was like 73% or something of like any referral stuff comes from like people. So, and then this is, click-through statistics and all that sort of thing, like, that's fine. And actually, I don't know all the stats when it comes to a lot of industries, but like, at least we're doing better than like the hotel industry when it comes to this, but I don't know what that matters. Like, what are we trying to do with this? Like, what are we trying to achieve? Like, how do we see, what outcome are we trying to target?
We're trying to keep our name out there. We're trying to reach beyond the network of internal marketing, if you will, or just community marketing that happens naturally when parents discuss or talk about us. Or who was it? Skylar bumped into someone who had their kids here, had questions about classical education at some event. Was that you last month we talked about that?
Maybe.
Yeah. So our marketing efforts are to reach beyond that and make sure that we're publicly known, that our name is recognized, that classical education is promoted as an option in the Lake Country area. I don't know that I have a number. I could ask Kendra. In our plans, there is a targeted number where we expect a certain number of applications or a certain number of waitlist percentage to be based on our marketing endeavors rather than our community efforts. But I think I can speak for the marketing department when I say that we see it all as a combined effort to put our name out there, be visible, be known, and garner attention and invite potentially interested families and students to at least investigate who we are and what we offer.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense, and it's totally fine to have, even my own personal, it's fine to have a marketing effort, that's all fine. I think just generally, marketing, you should be converting to something. And whether that's like converting to just awareness, that's fine too, it doesn't have to convert to enrollment. But just, I think it's important to have a something, and then you can decide if we've successfully converted into whatever that is, so.
If I could riff on that, when I read through this, of course, I love to see this report. Just, it's like my jam. I read this as, don't want to put words in your mouth, as an awareness program. The click-through rate is more than 4 times what you normally see, so that's great. But I agree, I mean, typically you have awareness, trial, conversion. And Kendra's really sharp, and so maybe this is the plan, but as we're having things at the school, maybe the online program can say, join us for this and join us, yes, you're probably doing that, because that gets into trial. But I was very surprised, this is a significant number to see that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're a new school, so awareness should be the goal right now.
And I think a pretty good amount were in the area, local area.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
good. Other questions, comments? Okay. All right, thank you, Margaret. So our next agenda item was a follow-up on the survey results from last time. And I think, we asked Margaret to reflect on some things, which she did, and I think she might have some comments. But the other thing I had asked is there were some action items at the end based on the survey results. It was 4 action items. And it was just kind of a quick summary. And some of these things were repeat items, and some of them I would suspect would show up on, or more common on these types of reports anyway. But I wanted to make sure we really understood the action items and sort of what the next steps were going to be. And I know it's summer is when the administration sort of formulates the plan, so some of these things may be in their infancy as far as detail. I just wanted to make sure we understood sort of these are the action items, this is what they mean, and the plan will execute loosely. So it was just to take it to another level of discussion. So I'll turn it over to you, Margaret.
Thank you. I've prepared some thoughts, and then if there's additional questions on those action items, so I can take questions when I'm through. Following our last board meeting, I've taken additional time to consider the results of the school survey and assess how we as a school and how I as a leader should move forward to both build on our successes and address our areas of growth. As the leader of LCCA, I am proud of the school we have built and the education we are providing. Yet I must admit some surprise and discouragement by some of the feedback we heard. This is especially so because the feedback this year was very different than past years, even though there weren't significant changes to our leadership efforts. Given the inconsistency with past years, it may be this year's results are an aberration. But to the extent the survey reflects sentiment, even in part, it is clear we need to shore some things up. So I come with humility and a commitment to address the challenges that have led to decreased satisfaction with our school and our administrative team. Our mission, to provide a rigorous classical education rooted in discipline and moral formation, remains steadfast. But there are areas where we've fallen short, and I take ownership of those gaps. I'd like to highlight 3 broad categories of issue I see, and then offer further insight on the action steps I plan to take. The first issue I want to highlight is misaligned expectations by some of our parents. We are a unique school in many ways. We are classical, teacher-centered, and rigorous. We are a low technology but high expectations school with a focus on discipline and moral formation. We love America and celebrate our constitutional heritage. In each of these ways, we are countercultural. Parents simply aren't used to this, especially if they come from other public and private schools. And those distinctives draw families to us, But all of our distinctives come as a package, which might not be for everyone. In other words, families might be drawn to us for a key reason, like not wanting a computer-based education or avoiding the ideologies of their local school districts. But they might be unprepared for the rest of what we offer. So while a family might appreciate that their children read great books, they might struggle with the demanding education we offer, nightly homework, and hard-earned A's, for example. They might celebrate the inculcation of virtue throughout our curriculum, but bristle at enforcing the uniform policy or firm discipline for misbehavior. Some of the complaints we've received, therefore, are likely due to misaligned expectations. Parents may not be getting the message up front of who we are. So big picture, we need to do a better job catechizing our community on our identity and culture and what we are trying to build here at LCCA. Toward this end, we will clarify expectations up front. We'll revamp our marketing and open house presentations to clearly articulate who we are and who we are not. By emphasizing our countercultural distinctives, we can better attract families who share our full spectrum vision. This will almost assuredly mean fewer applications and decreased upfront interest, by the way. But I believe we need to shift from simply building out numbers to making sure we attract community members who fully believe in our vision. This should, on the back end, decrease complaints and better foster a community aligned with our identity. By clearly articulating expectations on the front end, we can reduce misunderstandings and foster a stronger, more aligned community while gently guiding families toward the best fit for their values. We'll also improve parent orientation, offering onboarding sessions for new families to inculcate our vision and refreshers for returning ones to set clear expectations. I will also look to incorporate more identity-building education throughout the year in newsletters, programs, teacher communications, etc. Because what we do is countercultural. These are lessons that will need ongoing reinforcement. A second issue that came out through the survey was a perceived distance in leadership accessibility. While our teachers and educational quality consistently receives high praise, our administrative scores lagged. This contradiction suggests I've been less visible, and engaged with families than needed. One of the reasons for this is, frankly, an overwhelming administrative load. We run a lean operation, and as our school has grown, my behind-the-scenes responsibilities take an even larger share of my time. This past year, I spent an incredible amount of time on the One Campus project. No one was more disappointed than I when our financial projections simply didn't match what we needed to complete the project. But dedicating myself to prospective real estate deals and financial modeling meant I spent more time away from the classrooms. Given the nature of things, this meant my parent-focused interaction was disproportionately in conflict-heavy situations, leaving less time for positive interactions like classroom visits or family engagement. I'd also note that in its visit report, Hillsdale was very complimentary about the work being done here. Regarding my role, however, the report said I had too much on my plate and specifically recommended that I prioritize building more into our teachers and staff. Toward this end, I will reevaluate and reprioritize my time. This means identifying among my many responsibilities what things are high priority and what I can delegate to others. In particular, I may need to rely more on my campus assistant principals and dean of students to deal with parent interactions so I can do other high priority work. Additionally, I will ensure the right people are addressing questions with clear parent expectations up front. One issue is that sometimes concerns are raised with too many people, which both complicates solutions and can give parents mixed messages. It's not helpful, for example, if a mom has separate conversations with the teacher, the assistant principal, special education staff, the head principal, and 3 board members all about the same thing, just hoping for a different answer. So I will give more attention to helping parents know who they should be communicating with and getting staff and board alignment. And that might mean I am not brought into every question or issue. To bridge the accessibility gap, I'm committing to a leadership visibility campaign, as mentioned last board meeting. Quarterly, I will host coffee with the principal sessions or something of the like, details to be determined. And I will also incorporate leadership walks through classrooms and common areas. I will look for other ways to be involved in positive engagement with families so that my parent engagement is less consumed by crises or complaints. It is noteworthy that school satisfaction overall and satisfaction with leadership took a significant turn this year. Yet I have not changed my leadership approach. How do we account for that? I think there are several reasons for it. First, it's clear that I need to be more present with families. Sometimes people grow skeptical if they don't have access, so I need to prioritize that. Second, some of the feedback suggests a perception that I am not responsive or that people do not feel heard. Some of this may be due to misaligned parent expectations, as noted earlier, and other issues I will address in a moment. But parents want more communication and more transparency on issues than they are receiving. I also admit that I am sometimes direct and to the point and need to give extra attention to responding more sensitively to parent concerns. A final reason for the strained relationships is more difficult to address, but my honest assessment here demands it. At least part of the reason, I believe, is that over the last year or two, a toxic parent culture has emerged in pockets of our community. It is marked by misinformation, gossip, obsessive communication, and public attacks. Although we have, on the whole, an amazing group of families, a small group has acted in ways that have seriously hurt our community. To give one example, there have been persistent allegations that I have engaged in financial mismanagement. As this board knows, we are very strong financially, so this is simply not true. Yet people come to board meetings or go on Facebook and make claims filled with false information and insinuations, and it's very harmful. It can impact the willingness of our community to give financially, and this has strained trust and hurt our reputation among both prospective and current families. I should add that our school is not alone in this. This is a common topic of conversation among school leaders around the country, including by leaders of great schools within the Hillsdale Network. As those who follow public dialogue know, many have lost the art of disagreeing without being disagreeable. Those with whom we disagree are assumed to be evil or have nefarious plans up their sleeves. This is everywhere, and sadly, it is now here at LCCA too. This is one of the greatest challenges in education today, this culture of distrust and contempt. And although I will not name names, I have lost good, dedicated, beloved staff, in part due to the ungenerous and unkind ways in which a small group of parents have engaged. I want to emphasize most of our families are amazing, but we have work to do. As the leader of this school, I take responsibility for allowing this unhealthy culture to develop here. Toward this end, I will give further attention to how we process difficult parent interactions, prioritizing a listening ear, transparency, and a clear and swift answer. This means training staff, including me, on how we can provide better family engagement support. I will rebuild trust through transparency. We'll increase proactive communication through the parent meetings and look to share more context and information behind our decisions to dispel assumptions of secrecy. To combat misinformation, we will address misconceptions swiftly and factually to ensure false rumors and lies do not take hold. I will delegate to focus on priorities. To free up time for mission-critical work, I'll rely more on assistant principals for day-to-day parent and student issues. A leadership delegation map will clarify who handles what, reducing bottlenecks and ensuring families know their points of contact. This will allow me to focus on vision setting, administrative leadership, teacher support, and family engagement. I want to close by reiterating that we have a great team. I have amazing and dedicated teachers, and I am committed to seeing LCCA be all that it can be. It is already a great school that has served its families very well. I make these statements with the support of and in collaboration with my assistant principals, Dr. Wozniak and Ms. Joy. Our countercultural model isn't easy. It challenges students, parents, and even me to embrace discomfort for the sake of growth. But I believe in this community and our shared commitment to raising resilient, principled young men and women. This coming year, I will work hard to build a healthier culture where trust is restored and our mission thrives. What we have here really is beautiful and transformative. This year will make it even better. That concludes my comments.
Good. Thank you very much. Very, very thoughtful. Yeah, no, you said you were going to do some self-reflection, and obviously you did. So I appreciate it, and I think it's great that you took the survey results to heart and looking to make some changes. So you got a busy month ahead of you.
True.
Other thoughts or comments?
I just, thank you for your reflection. I think if you have a great team to work with to help you. I was glad to hear that you'll delegate some more, because that's always the hardest part. But it's also, as we learn through our other training, just different messengers for different projects. And I would encourage you to, utilize that method that we've learned about where we all have our strengths and things. As a board, if there's something we can do to help, if you need advice or, to help be more visible or help with interactions, we're here to help, because obviously we all want to see the school succeed as well. Thank you.
Yes.
You read my mind on your last comment. I want to ask more directly, what can the board do? Is there anything specific that we should be doing differently to support you, or could be doing differently to support you? It's not a one-time only offer.
Yeah. I will get back to you on that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's why you wanted a short meeting, so she couldn't start going down a list here.
I had no idea. I mean, that was revelatory. It was,
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yep. Okay. Any other thoughts? All right. Good. Thank you, Margaret. All right. So our next item is one campus update. We kept that on there because I committed to keeping it on there. There's some overlap now with the strategic plan because it's very much tied, with the one campus. So, John, I know you know what's on the strategic plan, so I don't know if you have any initial comments. Or I know you were going to just comment on Erica's question from last week.
Just to address the question and response about our lease expense. I think the question had to do with, at least on the surface, the kind of quantum of dollars that we spend appeared to be a lot. And that's true. I mean, as a percentage of overall budget of facilities is obviously a meaningful expense. In the context of, are we spending a lot or imprudently or so? Just to put some objective numbers, I looked at it, and I know, Margaret has worked extensively on extending our lease terms with our sites and thank God, because first and foremost, priority is to have a school. So we have that secured for the time being, which is great. To objectively put some things into context so people have numbers to compare to, and this is put broadly, and I think we would welcome any comment and any ability to be more efficient with this. But out in the market, commercial real estate, industrial real estate, it kind of in particular with as it applies to schools or anything else really, we kind of range in the, as far as I can tell, from conversations and then just broadly looking, we're in the $6 to call it $15 a square foot for these types of buildings. Where we sit ultimately in the total square footage, We have about 23,000 square feet or so in east. We have about 24,000 in west. We have another 10,000 plus or so in our modular units. These are actually probably undershooting it a bit. I think the reality of what we have versus what's even in the lease agreements and what have you, it's favorable to us. But even taking the more conservative numbers, we end up around in this upcoming year's obligated spend, we're under $12 a square foot, which puts things kind of mid-range of commercial real estate availability. East in particular is actually a very low cost, in closer to $6 a square foot, which as far as I can tell is not attainable anywhere. And if anyone did find something, awesome, please let us know. The modular expenses are on the high end, but that's to be expected. But again, on the blended average across our total accessible square footage, we are in a really great position. And then in terms of our efficiency of utilizing the square footage that we have, if I look at the DPI report and what is available now, not all schools in the DPI report how many dollars per child is spent on facilities, but for those that are reported, when you average out our upcoming 25-26 school year and a little over 600 students, we actually come in below the average of reported dollars per student spent on facilities. So from I think a high level, I think from our lease expense, number one, it allows us to have a school while we figure out the longer term solution. And then number two, if you look at all the comps, if you look at what's available, we're in a great situation. But again, if anyone has other alternative solutions, that's great. Just bear in mind, even if we were to switching costs are high. This isn't just packing up a house and putting it into a semi. So, but all told, I think it's a pretty good situation. So.
The other question I have, John, fairly certain to know the answer, but these are arm's length transactions. These are not related parties.
No, yeah, absolutely.
These are negotiated.
Negotiated, and as far as I can tell from looking just independently without really asking anyone else, looking back at past activity files, what have you, I mean, things were comped out, like we've looked far and wide as far as I can tell. Arm's length for sure.
Thanks for your work on that.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thank you, John.
And then another update, I think we had an inbound, or maybe it was something Margaret had kind of been in touch with for a while, from one of the commercial property brokers, and they had highlighted there was a vacant commercial building, office building, actually probably by all standards, a very nice situation. It is 40,000, probably in the Class B to Class A type of facility. But 40,000 square feet, which is probably shy of, I think if I look back at past one campus efforts, I think we were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of targeting 120 to 140 square feet per student, which is probably a little bit on the high side. Mid-range, just looking at it, is probably in the $80 a square foot or what have you, but 40,000 square feet, 600 students, that's going to put us a little bit shy as to kind of what would be middle of the range of square footage allocated per student. There is a lot that is next door to it. Ask the question as to the possibility of acquiring that in conjunction with the property, and the broker looked into it. It is owned by someone else that did it as part of a 1031 exchange, so they would need to find something else to substitute that in, and they're not really in a rush to do so. So interesting find. The purchase price would imply a significant discount versus what it would take to build the equivalent, but it's not quite there. So, but it's good to just kind of know what's out there. I think that's it.
Okay. I know there was that Waukesha was looking at closing a school as well. Is there any potential there, or is that?
I'll look into that further. Margaret just sent a reply back that I actually didn't know that was kind of in the bounds as to where we might look, but
Okay.
since it seems like potentially is, I'll figure out how to inquire about that.
Okay. All right. Add that to my to-do list.
Sounds good.
You guys are gonna hate this list.
I think it'll create efficiency, Randy. We might end up liking it.
Thank you, Skylar.
As long as we can vote, then you will be responsible for all of it.
I'll be responsible for writing them down.
That's right. Mhm.
Thanks, John. So our next item is to discuss of adding another board member, Matthew Bondre, who is actually here tonight. If you haven't seen him before, he is out there. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve Matthew Bondre as a new board member?
Well, I'll move that we approve Matthew Andre. I assume we'll have a discussion after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded to approve Matthew Bondre as a new LCCA board member. Any debate?
I just want to discuss, I did, and I'm assuming the others here have had a chance to talk with Matthew. Has familiarity with the school, good financial background, which we can always use more of here, and a passion for what the school does, a passion for its success, and it came through in my discussion with him, and I think he's going to be he'll be a good asset to the sport.
Other thoughts or questions?
I concur 1,000%. And some of you know this, but just for full disclosure, Matthew is Brannigan works with Francis Inc. On its 401k and fiduciary responsibilities, and Matthew is on site at Brannigan multiple times a year doing financial literacy education and meeting one-on-one. It's a benefit that we offer our people, one-on-one financial counseling. So I've gotten to know him really well over the past year and a half, and he's just an exceptional person. He knows his stuff. We talked at length about the LCCA mission and the Hillsdale curriculum and the importance of a school like this in this area, and he is 100% on board, and I give him my full approval as a board member. I think he'd be a fantastic addition.
I'll say too that Francis also does the LCCA retirement plan, and Matthew does some individual counseling as part of that for the teachers, but Francis is not compensated for doing our plan, so there's no conflict there. And Matthew did say if needed, if there was any kind of conflict with him working with employees and being on the board, he would arrange to have another Francis employee take over his duties. So. Okay. Georgia?
Did he agree to the 60-minute board meeting limit?
That was my first question.
Just kidding.
Sure.
Oh, I was just kidding. Calm down.
I'm not.
Yeah, I think I just like that. I think affirm what everyone else has said, but also I think anyone that has experience with planning and execution at scale, and which he does, I think will be valuable for the incredible asset for where I believe we are seeking to go. So.
Yeah, and Matthew also is the, I don't know, head of the AI committee or whatever they call it at Francis, so he also has that background as well, which could be very helpful for us. All right, any other questions, thoughts? All right, the question is to approve Matthew Bondre as our new LCCA board member. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Matthew, welcome. Get to sit on the other side of the table next time. So September will be our next meeting. And then also we have, we'll talk about the strategic plan. We got to get him the binder with all the information as well. So he has that, and I'll get him the, afterwards, if Matthew's still here, I'll get him the Carver guide too, so he's familiar with that. All right, next item is our strategic plan review. And Margaret, do you have that? Is there any way you can project that at all? Should have given you some warning on that one. Just thought it'd be easier if we could see it. So this is, and we came up with goals, strategic goals, and I did clean it up and consolidate a few things. And after looking at it, I can see there's a few more things that need to be cleaned up. But I wanted to put out there so anybody who was interested in looking at it could see, what we came up with, what came out of that strategic plan. And the thing I just wanted to focus on is we had a 90-day plan, so that was a month ago when we started that, so we're 30 days in to that plan. So I just wanted to focus on that 90-day, just kind of make sure everybody knows what's there, know what we are responsible for. And then if you have an update, give a quick update on that. If you need any kind of discussion for this or guidance, we can talk about that as well. So I'll just start at the top. And we had to establish a working group. So that was part of the thing, not like formal committees, just working groups. So we have multiple eyes and thoughts going into these things. Establish a working group to draft a clear vision statement that aligns with the mission. So we have a mission statement here, which we read every time. We don't really have a vision statement. So Margaret, I know you were in charge of that. I don't know if you've had to do anything, but or if you've had a chance to do anything yet, but if you haven't, John's gotten off to a great start. That he showed me some work he's done as well that I think will be really useful as you're doing this. But if you had a chance to do anything on that yet?
I am on track. I've put out some invitations to faculty members, administrators, parents, and I'm compiling the working group.
Okay, great. And then John, maybe sometime after the meeting you could share your draft of what you came up with to the group, and then
Sure.
I think it'll be really helpful for your group as a starting point, and also for all of us to see and provide any feedback we have to you. It was truly outstanding. He said he had something. I expected like a half a page, but it was beautiful. I think you'll really love it. I don't know if this should really be on a strategic plan, maybe more on a to-do list, but Skylar, the discussion with Clifton Larson, and it was related to financial projections which could be used for one campus. Have you had a chance to have that conversation?
We've had the conversation, but we have it scheduled for a week from Friday. So it's on schedule, and I would say we're on track to have that discussion within 90 days.
Okay. All right, great. Looking to hire a director of an advancement, and I think this was just posted or being posted like right around the time we did this.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any updates on that, Margaret? Is that?
We're still in the search.
Okay. Okay, which is kind of where we would expect to be after 30 days. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For under the operations, strategic human resources management, that's what the SHRM stands for, working group to develop a plan. And the idea there was to have a plan for things like board members, consistent pipeline of board members who might be interested, making sure our terms and everything are staggered properly so we have good continuity, not everybody coming off and on at the same time. Things like succession plan for school, school leadership. If Margaret ever wasn't here for whatever reason, what's our plan for someone to step up and fill in. So that's what that was referring to. So I have not done anything on that yet, and I will develop that working group and make sure we have that for our next meeting, which will be right around that 90-day period. Conduct a goal review and reset for sort of a follow-up strategic planning meeting. I know, Ellen, you're assigned to that one. Obviously, we, probably not there yet. We're just getting through this one.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that's on your radar,
Yeah.
and we can schedule that and coordinate that with Partner to Learn. Georgia, Had you begin the process to review and revise the board policy manual. I think you'll find it's pretty clean because Christina did a lot of this before she dropped off the board. But I think it's good to make sure that, that's something that's easy to put on the shelf and forget about. So make sure that everything's up to date, information's current, there's nothing missing. So, I'm assuming you haven't had a chance to do anything on that yet, but.
Correct.
But just so you
By
remember,
September.
that's on our 90-day
Yep.
list. And then draft and approve the policies of the Carver model. I spared you the slide this time, but I showed my slide the last 4 or 5 meetings. And we talked about just kind of putting that on ice until we had everything kind of organized, did strategic planning, and look at everything comprehensively, all parts of it, rather than piecemeal it, which after suggested by many people in the community, I thought that made a lot of sense. So I will try and get that drafted in the next 90 days so we can review and at least start discussing that. And then capital campaign, we had 2 parts to this. So the 90-day plan was to finalize a pitch case statement to be used with donors. And as John said, kind of what will we be when we grow up? And I know, John, what I just mentioned was very much related to that as well. There's some overlap there. So I'll let John, if you have any updates in a second. But then we're going to form a working group after that, and that would be 180 days. So we get through the 90 days, get this case statement tightened up, and then start looking for, having a plan to look for properties, make sure we're on top of it, out there looking, have feelers out there at the same time as raising capital. So that was 180 days. So we wanted to get the case statement out there and then start really focusing. I know, not that we're not looking for it, but focus on a plan for identifying those properties. And that would be another working group that John will form to help him with that. So John, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I have a draft case statement reworked, and I'll send it around along with just I'll call it an example of a vision plan. And I put it together just because these things, at least in how I'm familiar with doing them, they all kind of work in tandem. Like you don't have a case statement for what you're raising money for without the vision of what you're raising it for. So they kind of fed into each other, so I just wrote them. I'll send it around, people can take a look. It's really meant, the ideas are real, put a lot of thought into them, what have you, but it is designed to be an example. I think it's something that it'll be an example of how these things tie together, and I hope we can all collectively discuss. Obviously, Margaret is our leader, she needs to really put her mark on it, but I think once we have that, then it'll flow through to the other things.
So the thing too, I'll just mention is, I really want to, this stuff gets, we're all busy, we all have jobs. It gets easy to kind of put this stuff off, but I really want to be able to complete as much of this as possible, be moving on to the next steps and really focus on it. I mean, Margaret has, as we have asked her to do, come through with thorough commitments for what she's going to do this year, and I want to do the same from our end to support that. Is we're going to, get through this stuff and then keep updating it, keep adding to it, keep getting things done, and get to where we want and need to be. So, any other thoughts on this?
It's great to see it laid out like that.
Yeah, it was a really nice format. And there is some things like that Skylar thing probably was more of a to-do than anything. So we'll get some of that cleaned up. But it is. I think it'd be really nice to have this.
I would like to add, I know that you weren't at the strategic planning where we agonized over a lot of this. Since you don't have a task, if there is anything that you wanted to join, I'm sure
I'm on the meeting efficiency task
you
force.
could pick and we'd be welcome.
I think this is eluding you. That's my task force.
I don't want you to feel,
Right.
slighted.
Yeah. If he has time after Margaret's done with her list
Yeah,
for him.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments? All right, good. Would anyone like to make a motion to go into closed session per Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, subparagraph 1C, to consider the performance evaluation of the head principal?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to move into closed session. Any debate?
Randy, I would just note that following closed, we will reconvene in open.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we will reconvene back into open
And
and
adjourn from open.
And then adjourn in open.
adjourn.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we will reconvene.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Ellen. Yeah. Okay, the question is whether to move in closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.85 1C. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We will move into closed session.